Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my two obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. But you know what? We're going to make this informative also. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing. Work on skill at my crafting a little bit. And let's talk about all these clowns on YouTube who promote ketogenic diets. And I'm talking about guys like now Lobliner's joined the group. Rashid has joined the group. Brandon Carter joined in on it, and he's even selling books on it. Now that's hilarious. You've got a guy who started doing ketogenic diets 3 months ago, and then he starts writing books. He's already putting out ebooks about a diet he just started doing 3 months ago. He doesn't look any different than he did before he started the diet. That's funny. Now that's funny. But that being said, you got him, and then we have other guys like this Thomas DeLauer clown I covered the other day, Jason Wittrock, who, you know, I pick on him and make fun of his crap, and all his fans come in here like, oh, you're fat, you need to go on a ketogenic diet. No, guys, I don't want to die. No, thank you. I'm 40 years old. Heart disease runs in my family. I'm not stupid enough to do a ketogenic diet. I know you guys would love for me to do that because you want me to die. I'm not going to do it. Sorry, guys. Sorry to his fans. I think you are trying to kill me. See, because the difference is I read science. So let's get over to the point. The point we get to, these guys all promote something that when you go talk to medical doctors or registered dietitians, what do they tell you? Most of them will tell you don't do this diet at all. Don't do it. That would be the medical advice you would get from real professionals, right? Do I qualify as a registered dietitian? No. So you know what? I'm going to defer to most registered dietitians when it comes to diet advice, particularly when it comes about sports performance. I'm going to listen to registered dietitians who work with professional athletes. You know what? I consider them to be a better source of information than just about anybody on YouTube. That's where I get my information. I listen to the top experts. That's where I get my training ideas. That's where I get my nutrition ideas. I pay attention to what the best in the world have to say. The people with the best credentials, because they usually know what they're talking about. They usually do. Not always. They usually do. Look at the data they have. None of these clowns listen to any of that, and so they're promoting these diets. Now, the argument could be made so people could say, well, wait a minute, what if someone went to their medical doctor, they got advice from these guys? Because I had someone ask me that the other day. They're like, these guys are promoting something that's dangerous. They're promoting something on YouTube that doctors tell you should only be done under the care of a doctor. I mean, that's not any different than me telling you guys, hey, you should go do all these prescription drugs without your doctor's consent or knowing. Without consulting a medical doctor or getting a prescription or anything. That would be the equivalent. Technically, if you want to look at YouTube's bylaws, they're technically violating YouTube's rules. Are they not? They're promoting activity that doctors and dietitians should not be undertaken by individuals on their own. And they're claiming it's healthy and it won't hurt you. It's good for you. That's a problem, because you go talk to the real experts, the real medical doctors, and they'll tell you, no. And now here's the big caveat. We have scientific consensus on some stuff now regarding LDL cholesterol. So the question becomes, since these guys are giving dangerous advice, could someone sue them? And I thought it was a great question. You know what? I thought it through. And I concluded, no, they probably couldn't. They probably wouldn't be successful at it. And there's a number of reasons, and it's not because they're not causing harm. It's going to be because it's common sense. Like, their best defense would be, well, McDonald's is on every corner. We're not killing any people any faster than eating McDonald's every day would. People aren't suing McDonald's for selling fast food. Valid point. Number two, their defense in court could always be, didn't they spend 15 minutes using Google? Didn't they go look at PubMed? Didn't they look at what medical sites? Didn't they consult a medical doctor before taking my advice? Well, had they done that, they wouldn't have started this stupid diet now, would they? That can be their defense. Be like, I'm just an entertainer. I'm just an entertainer. And anyone who really researched it and didn't go to all the pro-keto sites, but went to all the mainstream medical sites, all the mainstream dietitian sites to look and see what they have to say, they would have realized this diet is stupid and dangerous. You go talk to your medical doctor about it, your doctor's probably going to tell you, don't you do this diet, you go find a new doctor, I'm not going to treat you if you kill yourself this way. You might have a doctor tell you that. So when your doctor tells you that, it's probably a good idea to realize maybe Brandon Carter's a moron. Maybe Rashid is a moron. Maybe Lobliner just likes to make money and sell products. You sure you really want to listen to these guys? This DeLauer guy, he seems to be just a con man shilling stuff because he can't possibly believe the nonsense he's spouting. It's a con man. I think that's the point where you realize that, and that's kind of the point. Only the ignorant are going to fall for this stuff. Yeah, they're going to go read a bunch of books and websites, but they're not going to go look at the real medical information, because if you do, you look at the current consensus of stuff and you talk to doctors and real dietitians, you're probably going to say, I don't think this diet's such a good idea. And it doesn't even cause the best fat loss anyways. Even in metabolic ward, it's not even that great for fat loss. It's an appetite control diet. That's it. That's all it does. Calorie for calorie, you lose less fat on it than you do most other diets. It kind of sucks. It sucks. It sucks for fat loss, but it controls your calorie intake well. That's why you lose weight on it. That's it. But the problem becomes the risk associated with it. And people say, what do you mean the risk? Don't you know dietary cholesterol doesn't affect blood cholesterol? Not what we're talking about. We're going to talk about the saturated fat component. See, because all ketogenic diets are large amounts of saturated fat. Now, the defense people will have, well, you know, saturated fat isn't bad. No, saturated fat in moderation isn't bad. All right, if you eat a moderate amount of saturated fat, it won't negatively affect your blood work. It won't. Vegans can piss off with that one. That's reality. You know what? A couple steaks every week aren't going to hurt you. Eating, you know, an egg or two every day isn't going to hurt you. Not going to hurt you. There's reality. Eating a pound of steak, a block of cheese, and 18 eggs every day will hurt you. Drinking coconut oil or getting 70% of your calories from peanut butter, go look at the saturated fat. So there we go. There's our two sources. Neither of those sources have any cholesterol in them, do they? They're still loaded full of saturated fat. What do we know? What's the biggest complaint you have keto dieters say when their blood work gets done? My LDL is elevated. Universally, you go to any ketogenic forum, go to any group where keto dieters are, what do they all notice? Their LDL is elevated. Now, this is played off. This is played off by the people saying, well, LDL isn't directly linked to heart attacks. Not like triglycerides are. And that's true. But that's not the big scary thing right now. They're right, because there's more than one type of LDL, and not all types of LDL are associated with heart attacks. Triglycerides are. The fastest way to elevate your triglycerides is to consume a bunch of processed sugar. So here's the point. That's kind of their defense. Well, this is better than consuming a bunch of sugar. They always act like you have a choice of one or the other, that if you don't eat a really high-fat diet, that you must be living on pixie sticks and Coca-Cola, right? Because, you know, rice and pasta and potatoes and beans and oats don't exist. You know, watermelon and bananas don't actually exist. You know, there's only two foods in the world. There's table sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and there's fat. There's nothing else in the world that people could possibly find to eat. They almost act that way, and it's this insane idea that these keto tards have. Well, you know, this is just as bad. Well, is it just as bad? It's arguably. I don't know if it's worse. They try to argue that it is, but I don't know that it is. But here's the thing. You know, you have other options. You don't have to live on butter and steak or pixie sticks. You have more than two choices. See, there's actually whole foods that fall into neither category, that aren't refined sugar, and they aren't ketogenic foods. In fact, 90% of the foods out there don't fall in either category. What a coincidence. But they always act like, you know, that's your options. Well, here's the problem. This year, we've got scientific consensus. We're not going to use a medical term. Let's just call it what it is. Hardening of your arteries. It is no longer speculative. They now have enough conclusive data that there is scientific consensus that hardening of your arteries is caused by long-term elevated LDL cholesterol. In other words, prolonged elevated LDL, which is the biggest problem ketogenic dieters all report on their blood work. At least 90% of people who follow this diet all have LDL that's considered to be above the normal or safe range. They downplay it because their triglycerides are low, so it doesn't put them at immediate risk of heart attack. And that's true. With triglycerides low, and they tend to be low on keto diets, it doesn't put you at risk in the short term for a heart attack to have elevated LDL. But we know that it's not a risk factor anymore for hardening of your arteries, it's the actual cause. So people are running a diet claiming it's healthy when we have the blood work. If your blood work comes back and your LDL is elevated and you follow this diet, you will eventually have hardening of your arteries because we have causation. It's no longer a cofactor, it's the cause. And hardening of your arteries is pretty much permanent. So if you spend 5 years or 10 years on a ketogenic diet, you are doing long-term damage that you will probably not be able to reverse. So here's the thing. You go do this diet and you come back with elevated LDL cholesterol, you are killing yourself. That's not my opinion. I quit doing this sort of diet. I tampered with it a bit here and there because I thought, well, it seems to be more safe than people make it out to be. And I did further and further research and I ran from it because I realized it was going to kill me. All right, I realized this type of dieting is going to kill me if I run it. So I think I did it for about a year a while back. I'm like, whoa, 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 especially when I saw my LDL up and my cholesterol. My LDL was elevated. Like, this is not going to work. This is going to be a problem. No. And then all this data after I quit doing it comes out on LDL. So here's the problem. You've got all of these morons promoting this diet as healthy. Whereas when I was saying I considered it to be a neutral diet, I think the risks have been overrated. Now that more data has emerged, I don't think the risks have been overrated. I think it's a legitimately dangerous diet. You'll never see me running it again. Would I cut carbs ever to make weight for an event, like for a very short period of time? Yeah, but that's a little bit different. That's not maintaining it for 3 months or 6 months straight, or a year. So therein lies the problem. The evidence is becoming stronger and stronger that this is truly a dangerous diet. Most doctors, most dietitians will tell you not to run it outside of being prescribed it and under the care of a physician. And yet we have these morons making money promoting that people do it on YouTube. And they've got their blind followers running around who don't even bother to look at all the scientific data. They cherry pick a couple of little studies. They don't look at the consensus. They don't look at the meta-analysis. They don't look at the broad scope of data and realize this is a deadly diet. It's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. But we have these people promoting it on YouTube, and they have big followings, and they've got tons of people running these diets. And that's the crazy part. You look at some of the guys who've jumped on the bandwagon with it, these bandwagon jumpers, they didn't improve their physiques on this diet. All these guys have been big and ripped before they ever even used it. And they all use drugs. And none of these guys are qualified to talk about health in any way. At least 2 of the guys I listed are so ignorant. They are so ignorant that you really shouldn't even listen to anything that comes out of their mouth about science. I don't even think those 2 have even a high school level of education, just throwing that out there. And people want to listen to them talk about the science of what's healthy. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.